Probably
We're trading
they
De'Aaron Fox.
probably
Two straight wins,
they
280 points, 81 point in victories. We're talking about trading De'Aaron Fox.
they probably should, but I wouldn't want to. I'll tell you that right now. I wouldn't want to. But the whole thing about it, the context of it all, James, as well as James Hans joins us from the Insiders and the Kings Beat, is Jesse. Tell me what you think. That's a. Do you think that's worth waiting for?
Yes, because I think there's a clear, not clear path, obviously, but I could see the vision for it. Like if Fox is missing out on All NBA, missing out on money because this team's not working, they're not making playoffs. Yeah, I could see like Houston waiting a year for that.
And that's probably, KC over here talking about 2 years away. That's a couple months away.
Yeah. That's And when I said 24, I said within 24 months.
So that's not what any of us heard. So, James, the whole context of this is we were talking about the Rockets and Jimmy Butler, and what acquiring Jimmy Butler puts the Rockets in a different position, a different tier, like right now this year, and then it evolved into Giannis being available, and then of course it led to the De'Aaron Fox.
Because I said I said I don't know if Houston would want to or should do that, because I think with all the assets they have, they might be playing for a bigger move than Jimmy Butler. There's a bigger player that they can get outside of Jimmy Butler just this year.
No, I would agree with you there. If I'm the Rockets, I'm waiting. Jimmy Butler, I mean, 5 years ago, yeah, but Jimmy Butler, like 35, I'm not giving up all my assets, especially, they have so many good young players and players that you can see where they project like 2-3 years from now when they're all grown up and they become legitimate, like veteran NBA players.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm waiting for the big swing then, because like if you're trying to rush into something now, it's going to be too costly. Whatever you're going to give up, especially young players like the players they have, they don't make that much money. Like none of them are on their true big NBA contract. I think Green is up to like $30 million a year, or he signed a 3-year extension. Yeah, but his extension, I don't even think kicks in until next year.
Yeah.
And
He
so
this year, so
yeah, so you're going to have to give up some of your veterans in order to make the money work for a guy like Jimmy Butler. But then on top of that, they're going to want like 2 or 3 of these young guys. And I mean, it would be the same thing for the Kings. The Kings would look at that team and say, okay, like if you ever do get to the point where you are trading De'Aaron Fox, that's probably the team I'm calling first. It's Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you can get, I mean, at that point, you're looking at 2 or 3 of their young guys that, all of which you could get, kind of pick and choose, like who's going to play different positions and stuff to make up for the loss. But I still, I'm not to that point with Fox, and I hope Fox and that group isn't to the point where they're ready to, tell the Kings that it's game over.
Certainly not a conversation today.
No. And when we bring this up, my perspective is Houston, not Sacramento. Like I don't think Sacramento's thinking about that at all. That's not the case. And my outlook is Houston. You know what's crazy about them? And I know maybe I've hyped it up a lot over the last 2 weeks or so. And they might be able to do both. They might be able to trade for Jimmy Butler now and still have people available for a bigger trade. Like they could trade for Jimmy Butler right now and give up like Dylan Brooks, Fred VanVleet, maybe one of the young guys and some draft picks and get Jimmy Butler. And then if De'Aaron or Giannis comes along, they could tell that team, hey, you can get Jalen Green, Reed Shepherd, this player, and another couple picks and get that guy. Like they got enough assets to maybe get the now trade and the down the road trade.
Sure does feel like they built a team. I'm not breaking that team up. I want to see who they are. And I think we've seen it from, Raphael Stone today. Like he has no interest in breaking up the Rockets, and this is a team he intends on playing with for the rest of the year, most likely. And, that can change, and that can just be, management speak. But for me, like, why would you mess with something that sure does look like it's on the right path? There's going to be a point where that you need something more to get you to a different level. But when you're the Rockets and you have so many young players that haven't even approached their ceiling, like it's very difficult to get a bunch of young players to reach their ceiling together. But it sure does look like they have a bunch of young players who are growing at the same time. And man, I don't know what Jalen Green's ceiling is. I think there's still a lot more. You talk about Shepherd. Shepherd hasn't even played enough games or enough time to really, gauge who he is. But you already have like Thompson and Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason, all of these other guys, Alperen Şengün, that are already showing signs of like, a vision of who they can be. And that vision is a really, really good NBA player. And, I don't know if you're going to get, 2 All-Stars, 3 All-Stars out of that group, but you certainly are at least going to get, 1 for sure. I mean, there's no way that all of those players are going to cap out like below All-Star level.
Hammer, it's been it's nice to go into this little mini break or whatever that the Kings had, with not only a couple of wins, but playing really well for the first time this year, hitting shots at a clip we haven't seen. Kevin Huerter doing what he's doing, Malik Monk being in the starting lineup. We could burn this whole damn house to the ground if they lose on Thursday, can't we? Because this isn't last year's Pelicans team. This isn't even the Pelicans all without Zion. This is a decimated basketball team that is dealing with injury after injury after injury. And I think they're at 5 wins here at this point, 20-some-odd games into the season. It feels like we could crumple all of this up and throw it away if something goes bad tomorrow night.
Yeah, it really does feel like this is a team that you should beat by 25, and if not more. This team is in shambles as far as injuries and everything else. And even, they were a bad mix coming into the season. You could tell that this wasn't like going to be a great team for them and that they might have some problems. When you lose Valanciunas and you don't really replace him, they do have some nice pieces. And again, this feels like a team. I don't know. I always think of like the Orlando Magic team that with Aaron Gordon that should have been parted out like 3 years earlier than it was. But that Pelicans team, like I don't know what you're building around, and I don't know who you're building around. And like if I'm them, I would take a step back and really center all of my attention around a guy like Trey Murphy, and then see what I can get from most of the other pieces. And what they can't do is they can't make more mistakes like what they did before, where they traded away. What's the guard they traded to Atlanta? That's just Dyson Daniels, who's just spectacular. Like talk about how did you not know that that's who you had in your own house? Like so you can make mistakes here and there, but you can't make a mistake like that where you're trading, an all NBA defender for DeJounte Murray. Like, I don't care what you think of DeJounte. That just wasn't a move that you should have done.
Yeah, I look at this Pelicans game, and you should win the game. This is I want to win by 25 too. I feel what you're saying, but this is a just win the damn game. Just win. You know what I mean? Because you can't.
Well, those games they're gonna start slow. After the this much time off, they're gonna start slow there in the first quarter.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a slow start.
Really, a built-in loss. I mean,
you should have such a chip on your shoulder to play this team. I mean, they beat you 6 times, and you didn't even make it to the playoffs. I mean, they knocked you out of the play-in, but they beat you 5 other times in the regular season. Like, this is. First of all, that never happens. It's unprecedented because you don't play teams 5 times in the league. It was a scheduling anomaly because of the in-season tournament. But man, if this team you don't owe this team something, then what are you doing? I mean, this team just thumped you last season.
But I was going to also say, like, you can lose this game and win 5 in a row. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to put too much on this game. It's just it's one that you need, you want to win. You've got something good kind of brewing yourself. Like, I don't care if you're playing the Pelicans or the Warriors, you got an opportunity to win 4 of your last 5. So for that alone, for what the 2024, 2025 Kings are trying to do, not worried about what happened last year, like you've got an opportunity for that. But, it is a game that while there's some PTSD involved in it, like you just want to win the game no matter who you're playing, like because you have an opportunity to turn your season around right now with what you were able to do last week.
Yeah, I mean, this. I guess we can like start lumping this in with some of those other games, but I don't. I'm hoping that they sort of take care of business like they did against Utah.
Yeah.
Like
So,
if they're going to walk in and not handle their business like they didn't against the Blazers, the Hawks, or the Nets, or just keep naming that team already. This, like you said, this is a 5-win team. If you can't win this game, like what game can you win? This isn't a good team. It's a team that's totally decimated by injuries. It's a team that you should have like a giant chip on your shoulder against. There should be no extra motivation needed for this win. And to be honest with you, this is a game that like if you don't like, you're in that other category where you need to start looking at who's going and who's not staying. You need to start parting out a team that can't win against a team like this, this deep into the season. We're not talking about, the first 10 games or 15 games of the season. We're almost a third of the way, more than a quarter of the way through the season. Like, if you can't take a game like this serious when you've had all this time off and you're healthy and they're not, I mean, I don't know what to say about you as a team.
I don't think it's about taking the game seriously. I think it's about executing, right? It's like I don't think teams often take the floor and don't take the game seriously. I think that's something sometimes we lean on as a crutch, or sometimes you can visually see them like they're not locked into this game. But I don't think that's been the case with the Kings very often this year. Even when they came back from that break that everyone so desperately needed, they just looked flat, poor, and had no ability to execute. Like, it didn't look like they weren't trying. It's like what they need to do is come out and execute. And Kenny said this, Hammer, after the Utah game. It sucks that the break hit now.
Yeah.
Like they're shooting the lights out. Kevin Huerter's playing great. Keegan Murray had a nice little game. The ball's got pop or energy or whatever like term you like to use, and here's 4 days off. Like, no one wants that.
No, but I mean, like, look, you also have a whole bunch of things that you want to put into your defensive schemes, your offensive schemes. Mike Brown talked about like getting in the gym and getting more shots up. You just got an opportunity. But I would also say, like, what is the NBA doing here? Because I just think it's the most irresponsible thing ever. Look at how many injuries across the league happened in the first 25 games of this season. And there's no way that the schedule had nothing to do with that. I mean, some of the Kings injuries, straight up, like low back injuries for Sabonis and for DeMar DeRozan, that sure did look like overuse. And you can put some of the blame on Mike Brown, but for playing these guys too many minutes. But Mike Brown didn't have the first 15 games over 26 days, and to me that's like, why all of a sudden you have 2 games over 11 days? That doesn't make any sense. The schedule we saw through the first 15 games of the season was very specifically because of the in-season tournament. So you got to figure out if you need to bump the season up a week, whatever it is. You can't make the players play every other day or 4 out of 5 games or 3 games and 4 nights, like perpetually through the first 30 games of the season. Not if you want good basketball at Christmas, and not if you want good basketball at the end of the season when these guys are going to be totally worn out.
I didn't even think about it that way. I mean, yeah, these guys, they gotta be ready coming out of this little break to in the Kings case, hit the ground running, because they got some games to make up. They got some wins to make up, and they have already kind of dug themselves a hole where, I don't want to say there's no room for error, but pretty close to it. Like, you've got to establish yourself. You did some work last week to get yourself to a point where you're 1 game under 500. You're 2 games back of the 6th seed. So you did some work. Now you have to capitalize on that work. And you've got to, when we come back, and we'll talk to you on Friday, but when we talk to you next Friday, we should be talking about, oh man, look at the Kings, half game out of 6 or something like that. Two games over 500. Like, you've got to take advantage of what you started to do and building yourself back up?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle and I kind of went through this earlier, and if you take just 3 games right now, 3 games, and put them in the win column, the Kings jump up to 15-9, and they're between the Dallas Mavericks and Golden State Warriors at like the 5 seed. And so, I mean, that's all we're talking about. And I think we can look at so many games this season already that they should have been able to figure out. And, I think the discussion Kyle and I were having were predicated upon, like, what do you do with your draft picks at this point? Like, if you're Monty McNair, are you like going to mortgage your future to try to save a team that's 12-13? Or are you a team that's going to tell your players like, look, I would love to go out and make a trade where I give up 2 first-round picks and we bring in a really nice player or 2. I would love to do that, but you're not even at 500 and you're a team that you're underperforming. There's no question about that. Like the last 5 games we can say, oh yeah, they look great, but they're 3-2 over that stretch. Before that, they underperformed. And so if you're management, you got to look at this in a couple of different ways, like trading away draft picks when you don't know what you have, when you don't know if this group is going to be good. That's really, really tough. And I know everybody out there like, oh, go get me a Cam Johnson, go get me, whatever player, a Kyle Kuzma or whatever it is. Those are all going to cost assets, and you have matching salary that you can work with. What you don't have is just straight up assets. And if you're going to put assets on the line, this team has got to be good 3 years from now. If not, that draft pick is a top 10 draft pick and you just gave it up. And so,
well, we already know what a disaster that 2031 pick swap is.
Yeah.
My goodness.
My point, though, like this team needs to right now, they need to earn the right for you to make that trade. They need to show you that they're a team that, yeah, hey, we're a good enough team that we need to be fortified, not a team that needs to be torn down a bit. And that's kind of where I'm at, because once you start digging into the treasure trove, whatever you got left of draft picks, man, it better be worth it, because if not, DeMar DeRozan 2 years with a 3rd-year player, team option, like, are you going to trade your 2027 draft pick when you could walk into that season without DeMar DeRozan, possibly without De'Aaron Fox, with that? I mean, sure, you could say, well, you might be able to trade some of your other draft picks and some of your other players at that point and get some draft picks and rebuild through the draft. But the easiest way to rebuild through the draft, if you're a bad team, is to own your own draft picks and walk into the draft with a top 5 pick, like the Houston Rockets have done a bunch of times in the last 3 years.
Hammer, where is the point where you feel like they've earned that equity, that they've earned that confidence to I don't want to say mortgage the future, but kind of give up some of those future assets? I mean, I know we were talking to Trista and Jason Jones yesterday, and both are like, yeah, it's good that they're playing better, but like I need to see more of it. And I think a lot of Kings fans are like, all right, that was great. If you get the Pelicans, like I think we all believe that they should, given the current situations, you're back at 500, and it's almost like they're great. You've got Denver coming in, or you're going to Denver, whichever it is, and the slate's wiped clean. Now, what is this team made of? Like, what is the point where we're at? Like, yeah, this okay. We're starting to see what we wanted to see from this team from the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a specific game over 500 or a consistency that we need, but what we do need to see is them string together where they're at least like pushing for the 6th seed, where they're at least in the conversation for that playoff spot, right? Not a play-in spot, a full-fledged playoff spot. Can you show me that you can get to that point? Because if you can get to that point, hey, I'm in on trading. It's got to be the right deal, and you don't want to give up too much, and you don't want to be desperate in the situation. But a desperate move right now that is the wrong move could have ripple effects for 5 years, 6 years. And that's not something, I'm looking at a team again, like the Houston Rockets, who have 4 players who are top 5 picks in the draft. And then a bunch of other really good, Tari Eason is 17, Alperen Şengün at like 14, 15, 16. I can't remember exactly where he was drafted, but Thompson and Shepard and Green and they've got Jabari Smith Jr. Those are all top 4 picks in the NBA. And that's if you're a small market team or a team that has trouble bringing in free agents, that's typically how you build your team. Now, if the Kings are a perennial playoff team and those draft picks are 22, 24, 26, like who cares? I don't care if you go out and trade those picks. Good for you. That's good. Go get the assets. Go get go get a player or two here or there that makes sense to make this team better. But I want to know that that's who this team is and where this franchise is and where they're heading. Because if not, like you could give up way too much to try to dig out of a hole that, if this group of players is just going to dig another hole with a different set of extra pieces, I need to see them show that they need to be fortified.
Which kind of goes to earlier what I was trying to get across when you talk about this game tomorrow. And I'm not trying to be a contrarian or anything, but it's not going to tell us nothing. Like where the Kings are right now, it's not going to tell us nothing. If they win tomorrow by 25 and then they lose 4 or 5, it don't matter.
Well, if they lose, it could tell us something.
If they lose and they go on and win 5 of their next 6,
well, we could do that. We could do that all day long.
But that's why I say it's not a must win. Like there's a bigger range of games that they need to be focused on and upset about as opposed to just tomorrow. You know what I mean? Because if say they lose tomorrow, it's just over. Not saying that.
No,
but people are talking about must win. You got to win.
What I'm saying, everyone what it does though is it resets everyone's thinking. Like if come on, man, we're talking about this from a fan perspective. That's what we're doing right here. We're not talking about it from De'Aaron's perspective or Mike's perspective. It's from our perspective. Kings fans you either feel good or you feel okay. Like all right. I like what we're doing. You lose tomorrow, it erases everything and you start over. Can you win 4 out of the next 5? Absolutely. But you again, you're building confidence. Like you're trying to get to that point again where you're excited. You lose tomorrow, you kind of start all over.
No, and
you beat New Orleans. You beat New Orleans. You lose to Denver. I don't think anyone feels like that's a setback. You had won 3 in a row. You would have won 4 out of 5, and then you lose to, and then before the game, and then you lose to Denver. It's like, all right, it's Denver. Worst, it's equal tier. I don't even know what the next game is. Let's get back at it.
Lakers.
There's like 19 games coming up against the
Lakers.
Pacers.
That's
right.
But no, I understand that. But my whole point is like we're gonna learn about this team over the next 2 weeks. That's all I'm saying. Like it's gonna be a collective of games. And tomorrow, for me personally, tomorrow ain't gonna tell me one thing or the other. Because you beat the hell out of the Pelicans tomorrow. That's no different than you beating the hell out of the Jazz. And I didn't learn much from you. But if you can string together 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks of really good basketball, that's going to show me a lot more than one game. That's all I'm saying. Like I said, not trying to be a contrarian about it, but just thinking about what they have to be thinking about as a collective.
Well, that's where I'm at too. And that's where I'm saying, like, if you can make this 2-3 weeks and we start looking at this team and going, okay, look, they're climbing the standings, but we still know what they need. And yeah, you might have Trey Lyles on his way back soon, but like, okay, I'm willing to go make an investment on the trade market because you showed me that whatever happened early in the season, you kind of got through and we're on the other side and you're starting to build something. You get to 500, you get to 3 games over 500, you get to 5 games over 500. We start to see some positive momentum in the standings where you're climbing. That's when I'm ready to invest. Today, I have a tough time like digging deep into the draft picks until I know exactly where this team is going. And, you shouldn't be going out and acquiring a player right now to save the season. You should be going out and acquiring a player because that's what you should have done already, that this team needs, and you're looking at it the right way. You're trying to build something.
Let's come back. We'll talk more with our insider from the Insiders, James Ham with D'Lo and KC here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320.
See, Belichick is officially going to North Carolina.
Yeah, I did see that.
$10 million a year.
I didn't even realize that when I saw it. That was Damien.
What's going on, everybody?
I'm pretty sure that was Damien.
What are you watching?
In starting 5. I can't play that part. But this is Jesse. You probably listen to us more. This was Damien, right? Not this. The next voice.
That would be one of the best seasons. Somebody not making all-star team.
Is that Damien?
Sounds like him.
It
I don't
sounds
know.
like I don't know. One more time, guys.
Sounds like him a little bit.
That would be one of the best seasons. Somebody not making all-star team.
No.
No,
No.
and the thing that threw it off was the person that talks afterwards. It sounds like a different show, like a different podcast.
That would be one of the best seasons. Somebody not making all-star team. Like he's doing that on a real.
Nah, that's not him because that's Chris Haynes right there. That's not Damien.
All right, I'm just gonna pull this up. RP, Herder, Carter, and 2 second-round picks. That might work. And that would be a tough. I mean, like from a talent and asset standpoint, that would be a tough trade to do. But I also think it would be, something mutually beneficial potentially for both teams. As far as the Herder, Carter, and 2 seconds, Lyles and Colby, and 2 seconds for Jonas. They're probably going to get more for Jonas. I think they can get a late first-round pick for Jonas Valanciunas. But that's just my own thought. I didn't hate when they went out and signed Jonas Valanciunas, the Wizards, because it's a reasonable deal, and you can easily see where they can flip him for assets at some point.
Dame, this isn't you, is it? I'm not going to play it on the air because he curses at the end. Oh, no. Not this, the second place. That's not you. Yeah, I didn't think so. Our guy, Devin, was like, I didn't know you guys were in starting 5. I said, were?
I think Matt George, Kevin John is, but no D'Lo and KC.
Man, Valanciunas is still putting up the same numbers he always does. Yeah.
Win or go home is a crazy way of phrasing it. Didn't Trae Young come out at the Garden for WWE?
Yes.
Pause?
Well, no, it's not a pause. It was just, didn't Trae Young come out at the Garden?
I didn't hear that
in my
report.
head, I knew what I was saying.
Bernard King.
Yeah, RP. I don't hate the idea of training for Jonas Valanciunas. 3-year, $30 million deal. I think you can get value back out of him if you needed to trade him again.
We're back, Hammer.
All right.
Shout out to my man, Greg, Map Training. I'm very fearful. I was just telling telling our friend, I'm very fearful I've slipped into that. I'll get my eating right on January.
Oh man, we going all the way to January 1st?
No, like because it's James's punk ass who he's I refilled the Fortress of Snackitude, and it's
Yeah,
like
we got little bites.
I'm a little.
Bites go crazy.
I'm a little parched. Let me see what James did. James is frozen.
Yeah, I didn't even notice.
James is frozen.
That's a crazy freeze.
Oh, Hammer. There he is. James
I'm back.
Out. See, that's what James gets for buying those damn little bites that like I've eaten now 2 days in a row. I don't have no business eating those. Come back, not hungry whatsoever, but Jen has refilled the Kim Snack Shack.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, there's some M&Ms. Oh, look, there's peanut ones. I've never tried these. Let me try these peanut butter ones. And now I'm like, dude, you're out of control. Clean it up.
The peanut butter ones are the best.
That was after picking up like my second DMC roll in the last like 5 days at McCooney's last night.
This guy's cooking right now.
Yes, it's all bad.
Well,
it is all bad.
The Fortress of Snackitude is looking pretty full right now.
Man, it looks great right now.
Yeah.
You could just fill that thing with those little muffins, and there doesn't need to be anything else in there.
There's some Ferrero Rochers in there. Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
Is that the gold thing?
Yeah, it's a chocolate.
I have one right next to me, but I don't know what it is.
Hazelnut hiding inside. Oh, it's so good.
Oh, you love. Well, this is gonna. Wow.
Well, yeah, come on.
I ain't gonna.
What were you gonna say?
Well, that he loves hazelnut. You can't ask me to throw the flag.
You can do whatever I want. I can beat the players in this league. It's
That's
a 15
right.
yard penalty.
That's right.
Oh man.
Jesse does what he wants.
Hey, that reminds me, guys. Usually we just talk about beam money, but I'm going NBA Cup money tonight.
Let's go.
On Prize Picks,
Let's
man.
go. Okay.
You know what I mean? You go on Prize Picks and you select that lineup that you have for the day, and I've got mine. I'm gonna tell you what mine is. It's an NBA Cup special. I went Steph Curry, 25 points. I went more. Karl Anthony Towns, points, rebounds, assists, 42. Give me more. Cat's balling right now on the low. Trae Young.
I don't think it's on the low. It's pretty loud.
It's very true. It was loud in Toronto the other night. Trae Young, 11 and a half assists. Give me more. And Jalen Green, 19 and a half points. Give me more. It's not beam money, but it's Cash Caraway doing his thing. Go to Prize Picks, put in the promo code KIFM to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's promo code KIFM. And during Pickmas.
Before you read the disclaimer, go ahead. That's exactly what I was going to say.
They got Pickmas going on right now where look, they had it where you can get up to 200 times your money, right?
Yep.
Prize Picks said.
That was after being up from 100 times your money.
Exactly. Prize Picks said, nah, that's not enough. They now have it where you can win up to 1,000 times your money. I didn't stutter. 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Somebody can get paid off Prize Picks. So go ahead. Like I said, go put that promo code KIFM in there. Get your first lineup out there. Get you $50 instantly. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states. Go to prizepicks.com for more details.
Hammer, did you hear Domas's reaction to Malik Monk finally starting? I kind of ruined the tease there where he was like, yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Do you think a lot of guys feel like that? Or maybe Domas was just being funny.
Yeah, I think maybe he was just being funny. I don't know, because like, look, that is one of those deals where if you say that loudly and in the wrong tone, it really does feel like you're calling out your coach. You're calling out a whole lot of other things.
Well, and called out his GM.
He sure did.
He said, here's another one we won't get.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little too honest there on occasion. Yeah. But like, look, I get it, especially for Domas. His connection with Monk in the offense is amazing, and I think he wants to play with Monk every minute he's on the court. And that's not that he doesn't want to play with De'Aaron. It's just that Monk has a weird connection with him. He's one of the best pick and roll passers in the game, and he has the ability to hit him on that pocket pass on the roll to the basket like nobody else. So to me, that's not surprising that he's excited about that. But at the same time, like, you have to understand that Like, team construction is complicated, and I don't blame anyone for the way that this thing has played out over the last 2 years. And I don't also want to make some rash judgment after 5 games where, they've looked great, but they're 3-2. Like, they put up a bunch of points, they're scoring, their offensive ratings higher, their assist numbers are skyrocketing, all that stuff. But yeah, okay, that's fine. But you're 3-2. So show me that that this thing has legs long term. That everyone can learn how to play together. That De'Aaron Fox is able to crank back up to where he was instead of steadily seeing his points per game decline over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. This thing it's complicated. There's so many angles to it, and they're still searching for all the right fits and the right pieces. But yeah, I do like watching it. It's fun basketball, and I get why Mike waited, and I also get why he hit the button when he did. And I also know that this is probably going to be the lineup that they have for a long time until either someone's traded or someone retires from the game or something like that. This is a very, very exciting brand of basketball, but exciting needs to equate to the almighty W.
Retirement talk going on in the Kings locker room right now.
Well, I mean, like, hey, Malik Monk is under contract for 3 more years, and DeMar DeRozan's only under contract for 2 after this year. Like, yeah.
Hey, James, I want to ask you something that we had talked about earlier about just kind of the Kings front office, team building, things of that nature. There was a list in the Athletic about the top 10 front office in the NBA, and I think it was voted on by different NBA executives. As you can expect, the Kings weren't in the top 10. They didn't even receive any votes. But I don't think the Kings have done a bad job in recent history with the front office. In one aspect, you've got a guy, Monty McNair, who won the executive of the year, the GM of the year, whatever it was, 2 years ago, just 2 years ago. And I think they've drafted well. They've signed some good free agents. They've made trades. In your opinion, what goes into making a good front office in this game? Because I think the Kings are average to good right now, leaning more towards good, but it doesn't seem like they get that type of recognition. But what do you think about just front office in general? It doesn't even have to be the Kings.
Yeah, so when you're looking at the way that this poll was specifically built, right? The GM poll, and it was our friend that we're not supposed to name, but Sam Amick, that was part of this. They went out, they talked to 40 different executives in the NBA. They asked them for their top 5. So 19 teams received a vote, including the Washington Wizards. So you got me.
Somebody put the Wizards in the top 5.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. Take their vote.
Yeah, that's not okay. But unless you work for the Wizards, you're like, hey, let's get our name in there, I guess. But if this poll was done last year, if it was done the year before, Monty McNair would have been in the top 5 2 years ago. And so, like, I don't know, like, overall, what does it take? How do you like build something? Again, I firmly believe that when you see the Miami Heat in that, I get it. The Miami Heat have perpetually built a winner, and whether they're a championship contender or a team that gets to the finals or a team that just makes the playoffs, they always seem to find somebody, and they would be in my top 5 for sure. And like, we can go through the list of all of the GMs in the league, and you're going to have some that pop up into the top 5 because they've had a good stretch. And then some GMs that, like, for me right now, Houston Rockets, like, what is it, Raphael Stone? Yeah, like, he deserves to be in the top 5. Like, what he's done, how he's created not just assets, but player assets. Like, he's working both angles right now, right? And I think that to me is one of the problems that the Kings have, and what would limit them in any of these. It's that their long-term and short-term assets. Sure, you have some draft picks you can trade, and you got, 1 or 2 young players. You got 1 player specifically in Keegan Murray that has value. We don't know about Devin Carter. Most of their other first-round picks from the Monty McNair era are gone. Davion Mitchell, Tyrese Halliburton, they've been used to go get other players or dump salary. And so it's tough because, again, I don't think the Kings have like really good assets at all right now. I think they've got good players, and they could part out those players and go get, if they wanted to reboot and start over, and get first round picks, they could probably go do that. They could probably get young players for De'Aaron Fox and Adonis Sabonis, and they could go get draft picks for a guy like Malik Monk. But I don't think that their overall asset package is really good if you're looking and comparing him to like Sam Presti's Oklahoma City Thunder. Like the Thunder have so many draft picks. I don't particularly love what the Thunder have as far as like player assets to go trade. If you're going to get past Shea and Williams, now Jalen Williams, now it's like, okay, you get to Chet. Like, what else do they have that you go, oh my gosh, that's going to get you so much on the open market? They've got good players.
That's
That
two-
face you make when you freeze for the second time in an hour.
in an hour. That's 2 in a 10-minute time period.
That's what got me too, was the face expression. That was
Well, I just loved it too
so
because
perturbed.
it sounds like he's trashing Oklahoma City. No, Oklahoma City has good players. And then just freezes.
Looking perturbed.
Always remember that the only person who's not laughing about this is the man who is shaking his head.
Yeah, the head shake always when he comes
James
back is the best.
always the one who does not find this funny. The rest of us do. James does not.
I switched to my other Wi-Fi. I've had enough. Yeah.
It could be. I mean, we've got about 10 minutes left. It could be a historic 3 freeze day.
Oh no, that's a TKO. I don't come back after that.
TKO.
James just walks away. Oh, the hell with it. Did you see Courtney Cronin trying to do that Chicago interview where the feedback was really bad?
No.
So she's on camera and like, oh, it's bad. They're trying to fix it. She goes, F this, and just gets up and leaves.
Yeah.
I think Awful Announcing has the clip. It's pretty funny.
There's nothing worse than feedback when you're doing a live hit. When you can hear the reverb in your ears, it's like someone's just smacking you. Like, it's horrible.
Shout out Sac State. We did everything we could to make those announcements, and we would make the announcement into the microphone, and 5 seconds later, the rest of the stadium would hear what we were talking about. That was a bit jarring. You brought up Houston. Houston got 2 more votes than Philadelphia, and the same amount that Indiana has. And in Houston, like Indiana, apparently no one cares that they're struggling this year, and I still think they'll turn it around to a certain degree. Indiana's made their move.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't have other moves to make. Like
Right.
they made their move, and that was the Siakam move. A good one, but that's the move. Houston appears to be a really good basketball team with nothing but flexibility ahead of them should they choose to exercise it. Speaking of, I think Shams just tweeted a few moments ago that Phoenix has been added to the list of teams that interest Jimmy Butler. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know what's going on there. There was also
what's my man's name again? The owner?
Oh,
what's his name again?
Sarver?
No, he's gone.
No.
The new guy, the partier.
Yeah,
He's probably like, let's do it. Jimmy Butler.
I said, sir, you don't have
can't-
anybody
you
else
can't do
to
that.
trade.
Take my money. Just give it to Jimmy.
Matt Ishbia.
Ishbia.
One of the Heat beat writers too, Barry Jackson Miami Herald said that the Suns can't do that deal unless they're sending Booker, Bill, or Durant somewhere.
Yeah, it's not possible.
Yeah.
And Brad has to agree to it. And they're not trading Booker, and they're certainly not trading KD.
There was a story out today, or no, not a story. Rumors of people talking about Booker's play this year and Budenholzer's philosophy not meshing up this year. I don't think anything happens.
No, sorry, Mike Budenholzer. 'Cause I don't think you're winning that one.
Well, that'd be what. Well, it's not gonna. Nothing's gonna happen.
No,
Nobody's going
no,
anywhere.
No.
But if say it did, like be 3 coaches in 3 years.
Yeah. And how many coaches would
Actually,
Booker
4 in
have had?
4 years.
Monty?
Because you got to get a new one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Not great.
I'm Kevin Durant, and that's
Hey,
kind of
dude, that's
unacceptable.
crazy.
Like
That's
they've got
crazy.
top tier talent, and they can't do anything when Kevin Durant isn't there.
That's crazy.
No, he's really good, and he means a lot to them.
That's a hell of a take from James Ham right there. Kevin Durant, he's really good.
Put it on a shirt.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Hammer, hopefully the Sacramento Kings are as well. We saw the hot shooting carry over from night to night, but Mike was adamant this isn't, and I think it was after the Utah game. It might have been the very uncomfortable press conference that no one remembers anything that happened around this because they all remember the clip that went viral. But he was adamant. This is about more than making shots. He was talking about the way that the ball was moving and the way that those shots were coming. That type of play is like, you could replicate that, right? Like, I mean, makes and misses, you're crossing your fingers whether they're wide open or contested. But the way you get those looks, that's the most repeatable thing that the Kings could try to do tomorrow night, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, realistically, if you just take away the 6 threes that Doug McDermott made in the last 9 minutes of the game, the Kings still would have hit 16 threes. They still would have been really, really good. And we're not. I don't think anyone is asking for the Kings to hit 20 plus threes a game. But you did get to see where Mike Brown's offense and like what they've been trying to do. When guys do hit shots, it makes a ton of sense. Like, the brand of basketball is fun. The ball hopping from one player to the next. When you have 39 assists and 7 turnovers, it means that everyone was cooking. Like, that's that you don't get 39 assists unless guys are hitting shots. And so look, I think that this thing, maybe it just, like, for whatever reason, it lost its way and it's figuring itself out like along the way. But I would also point out that Mike keeps worrying about his defense, and one of the best ways to have a good defense is to score the basketball and to go back and set your defense and, give yourself an opportunity to not be in transition, and not even like true transition, but also, like just getting back in time to set up a little bit, and then all of a sudden the other team starts moving the ball really quick, and you're just a little half step behind because you're still in moving back into the defensive position. And then next thing you know, the ball is moving around and you're chasing and you're a step behind and you give up a wide open shot. Like, that's where making baskets matters. You just get that extra second or two while the ball goes through the basket, gets inbounds, and you're already back and waiting. So good offense like begets good defense, and then the same thing. You get out on in transition, play defense, get rebounds, and move the ball up and get your own transition bucket. So I think that they're starting to figure things out, and I just hope we can still say that like next week. Like, well, I guess next week we'll only see them twice, but the week after that, we need to see this play out for longer than just a couple of days.
Do you think the other addition and the other change, the starting lineup being, Malik Monk being the starting shooting guard, do you think they're going to maintain being the top team or a top 5 offensive team like they have been since he's been in the lineup? You think that's just a small sample size or something that might be there to stay?
Oh no, I think it's there to stay. I mean, because they were already like a top 6, top 8 before Malik stepped in the starting lineup, and that's without them hitting shots. If they hit shots, they're going to be a top 2, top 1, top 2, top 3 offense in the league. I mean, because the 140 points, that's not an anomaly. Boy, I can't talk today. They're going to be able to score points like that anytime that they want, anytime that they're focused and moving the ball and sharing. They're going to be able to get to that number, and maybe not 140 every night, but 130, 125. That's not going to be hard for this team to get to every single night.
Man, and I know it's simplistic, Hammer, but it sure feels like Kevin Huerter might play the biggest role in all of this. I mean, he can score 16, they look like $1 million. He can score 28 and they look like $1 million. It just feels like if he's hitting shots, and I don't know if it's the defense, if he becomes a bigger threat, I don't know what it is, but I think the number was 10 points. They're like 10-2 if he scores more than 10, which is insane to me. Like, it's not 20, it's 10.
Right. it's crazy how much one player can mean to a team, at both good and bad. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, the team they've got to figure out ways to manufacture points when Kevin isn't hitting. And the reason why we're talking about Kevin hitting this number and not Keegan Murray is because Keegan isn't doing. I mean, you can go back and look at all the times that he doesn't hit shots at all, and the Kings can't win those games either for the most part. I would say this too: the Kings started the game the other night 1 of 8 from 3. Kevin Huerter came in, started lacing shots, and next thing you know, everybody's hitting shots. There seems to be a problem with this team where when things are going good, everyone's in on the fun, and when things are going bad, everyone's in on the bad. And again, rewind a couple of games ago when they lost to Memphis, and Herter, Murray, and Fox combined to go 1 of 20 from 3. Like, it doesn't make sense that one night everyone can hit shots and 2 nights later no one can hit shots. But you're doing it as a collective. If you can stagger who's missing shots, you're going to find a lot more wins hiding as well.
All right. Well, great news. No basketball tonight.
No Kings basketball.
Well, no Kings basketball. Yeah. Well,
NBA Cup, baby, let's go.
There's a couple of games we could lock into.
Yeah.
NBA Cup. I'm ready.
Hawks Knicks coming up. I like the Warriors Rockets though. I'm all about that.
Who wins tonight, guys? I say Knicks and Rockets.
I'm going Knicks Warriors.
I'm going Knicks Rockets. Yeah. That Knicks team.
Sure would be a shame if I was wrong though, wouldn't it?
Karl Anthony Towns is tied for second in the NBA in most rebounds with Domantas Sabonis.
He's played really well.
Domas is second. Oh, Jokic is first. Jokic is like crazy right now. He's at like 13 per game or something.
Yeah, I think he's first. I just saw the stat earlier.
Giannis MVP though.
It's
He's
early.
not. Yeah, I agree with you. He's not.
It's early.
Man, okay. And tomorrow we will finally get ready for Kings basketball. This one in New Orleans. So we'll get you ready for that. We'll be a little more focused tomorrow. No talk of rats or death.
Yeah,
probably. Well, unless of course I'm not
Ice
here.
Cube and Iced Tea. Well, yeah,
that was a good.
Yeah, hopefully you're here.
Well, okay. So if I don't make it, then I violated the agreement of dying on the air. So my apologies to the Chatty House.
Don't be selfish.
Sky River Casino. I apologize to everybody if something falls tonight and this is the end. Just know that I loved you all, and hopefully we will all be back here beginning at 10 a.m. on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320.
Vamos Knicks.